Welcome to this week's edition of World Stories. Nigeria, millions threatened by famine. Greece, living with the crisis. But first to Laos, where a new hydroelectric dam on the Mekong River is nearing completion. It's a much anticipated source of hard currency, but thousands face resettlement and much farming land will be lost forever.
A picturesque boat journey along the Mekong River takes us to the largest hydroelectric dam in Laos. These images are rare, because getting permission to film is difficult. That's hardly a surprise. The Sayaburi Dam is one of the most controversial building projects Southeast Asia has ever seen. It's due to start operation in 2019 and will produce 1,200 megawatts of power. The electricity will be exported to Thailand and is likely to pump billions back to Laos. But there are major concerns about the environmental impact. The Sayaburi Dam will affect the entire ecosystem, the water level, fishing stocks and the harvest of the algae in the Mekong. People living downstream are already noticing the effects. More studies on the environmental impact need to be conducted. The Thai company behind the project says it's taken those environmental concerns into account. It says that fish will be able to pass through specially constructed streams, and that the plant will be cleaned regularly to avoid contamination. But that hasn't reassured many of the locals. Some have already experienced the negative impact Chinese dams have had on the upper Mekong River. Fish stocks are down, and flooding has become more common. Most people are too afraid to voice their concerns on camera. They fear they'll face retribution from the government. The project has already forced hundreds of families to move out. They've been resettled in new developments, often far away from their original homes. Though many of them do say they're better off now. It's better for us here because we don't have to travel as far to get to the rice fields. And the new houses are connected to the electricity grid. We also have better drinking water. Laos wants to tap into its potential as a major producer of hydroelectricity. Plans to construct more dams are already in the works. That could be good for business, but fears are growing the Mekong will lose some of its charm.
Next up, Nigeria. Years of insurgency have left large areas of the country's northeast on the brink of famine, and large numbers of people fleeing the terrorist organization Boko Haram are stretching authorities to the limit.
Yakubu is only 2 years old. His short life has already experienced unimaginable horrors. His family's village was overrun by Boko Haram militants. His mother only managed to escape with him at the last second. Yakubu is severely malnourished. There wasn't much to eat while his family was on the run. And now safe in Maiduguri, they have no money. For the last month, I could see he wasn't doing well. I gave him traditional medicine, but it wasn't helping. He kept getting weaker and weaker. At first, he would eat the paste I made for him from peanuts. But then, he didn't want it anymore. It was almost too late by the time his mother heard about Doctors Without Borders. She couldn't afford a regular hospital. Here, the treatment is free.
And it's super crazy. We are seeing about 100 to 150 pregnant women a day. It's a huge challenge, but we try to keep our teams well motivated. And you can imagine you are seeing 100 to 150 malnourished babies. It's bound to have a wear on you.
In fact, the number of patients keeps rising. Nigeria's poverty-stricken north suffers from chronic food shortages. The threat posed by Boko Haram makes it impossible for many farmers to grow their crops. In total, Doctors Without Borders treats more than 1,500 patients every day in their 3 clinics in Maiduguri. An estimated 1.5 million refugees has more than doubled the city's population. The local government is overwhelmed. It focuses its efforts on the official camps for internally displaced persons. There are also refugees who aren't being counted because they're living with relatives. So they're not identified as refugees. They're surviving from the help of locals and their relatives. As long as they aren't registered, they don't get free access to state services, like free hospital care. That's why Yakubu's family haven't received any support from the state. Yakubu is now being treated at a special clinic. His mother hopes he'll regain health and that she'll finally get government support, at least providing enough food to eat.
Greece. What's changed since the dark days of the debt crisis? Not a lot, it seems. Unemployment figures are appalling, and much heralded reforms have proven unpopular. Many are resigned to a harsh and bitter future.
The job prospects seemed promising for Katerina, Stella and Elena when they began studying architecture in Athens. Those times are long gone. Now all 3 work badly paid side jobs just to make ends meet. Of course, I would rather work as an architect than in a falafel shop, because we all have studied and invested in it. But I have to make a living. I would like to earn my money with something that I like, but that is just not possible here right now. 1 year after Greece received its 3rd financial rescue, the situation for the 3 women has become the new normal. The country faces a staggering unemployment rate of 50% among the young, falling wages and a dramatic rise of people living in extreme poverty. And the worst is not yet over. To receive the next aid tranche of 2.8 billion euros, the Greek government must enact another round of contentious employment and pension reforms by mid-September. While the crisis has taken its toll on every part of the Greek society, thousands of small businesses are struggling only to survive. For 10 years, Alexis Diakomanoulis has been running his marketing agency in the heart of Athens. Because many of his clients have cut their marketing budgets, the outlook for his company is turning ever more precarious.
The uncertainty is the worst thing which is hurting us. Every time there's a bailout review, it drags on for months. They set new targets which are unrealistic, which then again perpetuates the situation. So we never see any light at the end of the tunnel, if you will.
Katerina, Stella and Elena have put their ambitions on hold. After taking part in the countrywide protests last summer, they also feel exhausted. Things are changing all the time. There's really no stability for us whatsoever, and it affects everyone. I feel like for us this crisis is a constant battle between staying motivated and just giving up all of our hopes. In Greece, everyone agrees that last summer's bailout was only kicking the can down the road. A year after the crisis was declared over, the country is still in a downward spiral.
Our final report is from Germany. Last year, thousands of refugees arriving in the city of Munich were welcomed with open arms. We asked around to see what the mood is today.
Munich had never before seen anything like it. In just 2 days, 17,000 refugees arrived at the city's main train station. Hundreds of volunteers greeted them with open arms. The world saw Munich as open, welcoming and generous. Doris Lucas was one of the volunteers. A year later, she's at one of Munich's largest refugee centers every week to help distribute clothes.
This is your shopping list for today. You see the pictures, you see shoes, pyjama, underwear, socks, trousers.
She's proud of what happened in those stressful weeks a year ago.
We had up to 200 people at the door, and we just kept telling them, don't worry, everyone will get something. And then we got to work. They came with nothing and left with a full set of clothes. We did it.
About 12,000 refugees live in the city today. But most Munich residents have no contact with them, and some people are afraid of them. The city has seen an increase in crime rates, but the police don't see that as anything unusual.
When I see that the majority of these refugees are young men aged between 16 and 30, and then look at Germans of the same age group, they also commit more crimes than 60 to 70-year-olds do. Diese Vergleichsgruppe natürlich auch krimineller als jetzt die Gruppe der 60- bis 70-Jährigen.
Doris Lucas wants to help people manage these concerns. She's now working on an initiative with other volunteers to bring refugees and long-time residents together, so the city's oldest and newest residents can live happily side by side.